talk to him about it later. I'll tell you what I do.
We are live, Judge.
We're live? Okay. Good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, July 25th, 2023. It is 10 a.m. We're here for the regular session of the Hunt County Commissioners Court. At this time, I'll call the meeting to order and ask Philip Martin, Commissioner Martin, to lead us in prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Shall we bow? Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for allowing us to come here and take care of community business. We thank you for the gift of life. We ask you to continue blessing this great country that we live in. In Christ's name, we ask these things. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, everyone. This morning we have Commissioner Hutchins, Monroe, Martin, Harrison present. I'm Judge Stovall. I'll be presiding over the meeting today. Commissioners, you have the minutes of the July 11th, 2023 regular session. I entertain a motion for approval.
So moved. Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Public testimony. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes and should conduct themselves in a civil manner. Commissioners Court cannot take action on items not listed on the agenda in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Concerns will be addressed by county staff that may be placed on a future agenda or addressed by some other course of response. Do we have any? Mark White. Should have guessed that.
Always here to give an update.
We appreciate it.
Good morning, Your Honor and distinguished commissioners. The 26th President of the United States, Theodore Roosevelt, affectionately known as Teddy, once said, "In any moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The worst thing you can do is nothing." It is still my belief that this honorable court and the Friends of Merit are both in agreement when it comes to making right decisions versus doing nothing. Obviously, there are some timing issues and obstacles to overcome, but doing the best thing is always doing the right thing versus doing nothing. Since our last conversation, I've received a formal letter from the Open Records Division of the Texas Attorney General's office stating that they have ruled the city of Farmersville is in violation of section 552.302 of the Government Code and a governmental body's failure to comply with the procedure requirements of this particular section results in a legal presumption that requested information is public and must be released unless there is a compelling reason to withhold the information from disclosure. So here's a portion of that letter to Ms. Amanda Davis. The city of Farmersville, which you represent, received 8 requests from 5 requesters for certain population information pertaining to a specific trail, all documentation regarding 2 stated propositions for a specified election, all information pertaining to the passage of a specific home rule charter, certain correspondence with specific election offices, and any and all annexation plans during stated time periods. You claim the requested information is exempted from disclosure under the various sections of the Government Code. We have considered the claimed exceptions. We have also received and considered comments submitted by 4 of the requesters. Because you have not submitted the requested information for our review, we have no basis for finding any of the information exempt from disclosure. Thus, we have no choice but to order the requested information released pursuant to the section I stated earlier. If you believe the information may not be lawfully released, you must challenge this ruling in court pursuant to the Government Code. Because you have, the letter closes with information about deadlines and their responsibilities, et cetera, et cetera. This is not the only letter that was sent to Ms. Davis. She's been also sent 4 other letters from those other requesters from the Open Records Division, and that was based upon the failure of Farmersville. So they've received, I believe now, 5 letters saying that they have failed to comply with the Open Records Act. And according to the AG's office, when a governmental body receives a letter ruling from the Open Records Division, the government body must do one of four things. Release the requested information according to the ruling, notify you when and where the public information could be provided to you, or notify you when and where the requested information will be made available for your inspection, or lastly, you can notify the intent to challenge the letter in the district court in Travis County. They have 30 days to do so. With that said, only 1% of these rulings ever go to trial. So anyway, my point is that they have a lot of weight on their shoulders now. We'll see if they actually start complying with the Open Records Act. So, thank you.
You bet. Thank you. Thank you for the update. Is there anybody else? Anybody else wish to speak? Daniel, anybody online? Okay. Now I'll close the public testimony. Old business, action item 1, a variance request for creek bend development to allowing 25-foot wide asphalt streets with concrete curb and gutters in precinct 1. Daniel, you got any updates? Come up and state your name and.
Hello, I'm Levi Love with Elsewhere Engineering. I brought Kevin Mims with me, he's the owner of the property. So last time we brought this variance to you, we discussed it, it ended up being tabled until this meeting, so we came back. This was also tied, I believe we kind of presented both at the same time. We had another variance for lot width. At this time, y'all gave us some homework to go do and talk to some volunteer fire departments, talk to the city of Greenville. We've done about half of that so far. Just takes a while for all that communication to happen. So today, we would just like to talk about the street width portion. Maybe get some answers on that. And we can, if it pleases the court, just no action the other item regarding lot width, unless y'all would like to discuss it some more until we have some more research and maybe find out what we can work with and bring that back to you. So the first item we served was street width. We had presented a 28-foot street with a mountable curb, and what the goal was to make that equivalent to the open ditch portion of your ordinance, which allows 28-foot roads with a 2-foot shoulder on either side. And so we were presenting a 28-foot road with a mountable curb, so that was all drivable surface area for emergency vehicles. And then adding some stabilized area behind that curb so that we would have an equivalent cross section. In addition, we talked about we would not allow parking on the roads. That would be enforced by management and portions of their leases. We talked about adding parking to the whole land plan. So there's parking off street to allow that road width to work. We added that by adding one extra parking space per home. So instead of 2, everyone would have 3. Plus, we've added about 245 additional spaces to the whole land plan. So we'd like to talk about that and see if we can find either that width or width that works, since we are doing the mountable curve with some stabilized area behind it, and we're just trying to have a neighborhood feel that works. You might have a couple of things to say on that. And we brought some examples of what that could look like as well, but pleases the court to pass those out.
Here's the plan, just the additional parking throughout the home. This is just some pictures of some road widths. We went out to communities and measured some roads and took some pictures. You want copies as well?
Sure.
So here's the land plan and the road width examples.
Thank you.
Road width examples. There you are. So like Levi said, we tried to go above and beyond here by providing sufficient off-site meaning not within the lot. So we've added an extra car width to our driveways per lot, and we have a lot of off-site parking. The lot width examples, or road width examples you have there, are just pictures we went out, we took pictures of roads, we measured them, and we tried to get pictures in places where there were cars parked on the side and showing that there's still room to pass within the 28 foot that we're requesting.
Anything else?
Well, I watched the last time Levi and Harry came, and Mr. Martin, you had mentioned people coming over and taking a lot of parking. We will have on-site management who will be monitoring that within their lease and their rules and regulations. It will say you can't park on-site, but I completely agree there will be instances where people park on-site, and what we're trying to show is that even if they do in violation, then it's still a usable road.
I understand that, and basically I was listening to you in reference to it, and I appreciate the judges in reference to the health and safety in actuality. You probably don't know my past history of what I've done, but basically I worked a lot of accidents in reference to highways and roads and stuff like that. And we always figured about 8 foot wide on each car, so you have 16 if you have passing each other, plus 2 probably in between or even more foot. And you park one car in reference to a 28-foot pavement, and which you're not putting curves in, but you're putting a shoulder type situation in to support it, then you don't have hardly someone else to be able to pass it, because you're going to have 16 on 2, and then if you go on and put somebody over on the side of the road and you said, well, we're going to have enforcement. But the judge last time, if you remember, he brought up basically that we have these fire trucks basically that are wider than others that would be also necessary. And if you have one person that defies parking on a thing, you're not going to have enough time to get that, much less the person that supervises your parking to get out there and move it. I was looking at this 40 foot compared to an 80 foot in reference to the frontage and all this. You're having them packed in like sardines, to be quite honest with you. I'm just telling you my thoughts and what I think about it. It's scary. It's very scary. I even went to the point of finding out what type of land was out there, and from my understanding, what I was told, it was possibly some sand, because I was trying to find basically whether a concrete road or what. But even in the statement that you make here, you say it's pavement, in which you look at the dictionary, pavement is any supposedly hard surface. Okay, we would normally, and if I'm not mistaken, in reference to, and there shouldn't be any difference between a house and all that, but you're talking about, if I'm not mistaken, our rules and regulations say concrete and anything like that. Am I correct? You correct me if you will if I say anything that's off, okay?
All our lots, we require concrete streets.
That's right. Why wouldn't this? There's been nothing said about concrete roads, and we're talking about as far as gutters and stuff like that. Y'all are asking for variance, tremendously variance. And the thing about it is, I have situations in my precincts that basically a homeowners association, but nothing was mentioned about a homeowners association in reference to any of this. In fact, it was going to be owned and leased out by y'all, therefore we're not actually platting. But that doesn't do away with the safety and the health and welfare of the people itself. As far as yards and stuff like that. I'm just telling you what my thoughts are, and in reference to all this, and basically it's scary to me. I can't see how it would be safe for anybody in reference to how small it is. So
Do you mind if I respond?
I would love for you to respond.
Sure, thank you. Within the United States, the average lot width for a single-family home is typically about 50 or 55 foot. Within manufactured housing communities, that gets much smaller, typically 40 or 35 foot. These homes are 32 foot wide, and you can see kind of on each lot here, we show a double wide home. And these homes, typical size for a double wide is a 32 by 60. We're providing a 50 by 110 foot lot. So there is plenty of room. There's no fencing in around these lots. So there's plenty of open space between them. And we also provide ample green space for them to go play and do all of that. The health and safety of our tenants is absolutely our top priority as well. And so I guess I'd like to understand the scary reference. What makes it scary for you?
Can I answer that?
Oh, sure.
I spoke with Caddo Basin, and you don't have guaranteed fire flow, first of all. They don't guarantee fire flow. Y'all stated last time it'd have fire flow, and you can't tell us that. And hang on, let me finish. I didn't interrupt y'all, let me finish. I also discovered that, which wasn't pointed out, that I remember anyway, you're relying on a water tank that y'all are having to put in to be able to service the community, and that has a single feed line coming to it. So if that line ever breaks at the same time we have a bad storm or a fire, and the water runs out in the water tower, then we've got a horrible situation. And I'm not comfortable with the density in a rural area. Some of these examples you give, you're not telling us, what the fire department's availability are, what are the capacities, what is the capacity of the water. We know what we have. We have volunteer firefighters, some of them sitting out here. It takes average 20, 30 minutes sometimes to get people on site. We don't have fire flow. We don't have pumper trucks. Is that the right term?
Yeah, we have tanker trucks, but they're spread out.
They're spread out. You can't go hook up to a fire plug and have continuous water flow. So even while they are fighting the fire, when they get there, they have to sometimes stop and go reload the truck to come back and restart fighting the fire. And I'm not comfortable with the spacing requirements and the density with the water situation as it stands today.
Yes, sir.
And I'm not comfortable with the narrower streets. I mean, I think it's wonderful that you think that y'all can do that and then can enforce it, and y'all might can, but you'll sell it someday or something will happen to it and somebody won't, and we still got it. We got to look at it for the life of the project, which is many decades out. And I can tell you, I just don't believe that people that are going to live in these small lots, when it's raining or the wind's blowing hard or it's really cold, they're going to go a block away and park their car like they're supposed to and walk back if they don't have enough parking on their parking lot, on their lot. They're going to park in front of the house and go in and get out of the elements, and your people aren't going to enforce it because they don't get in the elements either. So it's not a good situation to me.
Yes, sir. I'll let Levi address the water situation. What we tried to do with the pictures showing lot widths was that we agree that there will be times when people will park and we don't have the ability to enforce across the entire community. And so we wanted to show that even if that were the case, that we've got plenty of width to have 3 cars going through there.
Unless 2 of them decide to park on each side of the street where you can barely get through.
Yes, sir. And one of the pictures in there, my truck is actually the one in the middle. We're on the left-hand side. So we did take a picture with 3 lines there on the 27-foot road. I had something else I wanted to address the water line. My brain catches up.
Yeah, just wanted to, just so you know, I'm not fibbing to you. Here's the letter I got from the water district, and highlighted on there that they said they would be able to provide water, retail water, and they did a water study with fire flow. So
What was the date on that?
the date is October 24th, 2022, and I have a copy here if you'd like it. I don't know if you would. But
That's
that's
right.
where we've done our research to this point, and our goal here was to talk about some design elements before we showed up the plans and tried to push it through. We just wanted to understand what areas we could work with, because I don't think this is it's not a traditional subdivision. It's even hard to tie it to all of your rules, but we wanted to do it right and come here and talk about it. So when we asked for the width of the driveways variance, we don't mention concrete or asphalt because we haven't designed it yet. We're going to follow your rules. I promise. So we just called it pavement because that was a word that we use for hard surfaces on roads, but we intend to design this to all your minimum standards, probably exceed them all, with the exception of these that we brought to you today. If the answer is no, or if the answer is give us 30-foot roads, we're happy with that. We just wanted to have that good discussion with you.
Well, our agenda says 28-foot wide asphalt streets with concrete curbs, and I think that's what you requested at the last meeting also.
So it wasn't, I, sorry, I didn't mean to overspeak it again.
That's all right.
Apologies. We're happy to modify that. You know, I'd rather have that say per your ordinance, pavement per your ordinance, and move on. Our variance intent is not to talk about pavement. Our variance intent was to talk about width of the pavement. Whatever that pavement is according to your.
Y'all don't know? What are you thinking about putting on there?
Well,
Yeah, so, throughout a lot of our other properties, we do asphalt roads with curb and gutter. We have also done, concrete roads with concrete, curb and gutter with rollover curbs, with standard curbs, as a variation throughout. So we're happy to do it to the way that it pleases.
No, you're not, because you're asking for a variance.
For one.
Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. Am I correct? You're asking a variance in several different items in reference to it. So, no, you're not wanting to go with what's required in reference to it, and that's why we're having this discussion. Okay.
All right, Commissioners, got any other questions? Thank you. Commissioners, what's the thought? Anybody want to make a motion?
I make a motion, we don't approve the variance.
I'll second.
All right, we got a motion and a second to deny the action item 1 under old business.
You're going to deny variance, you can list specific reasons why.
Sure.
To comply with the
Okay.
On the lot spacing and the width of the road, I think it's unsafe.
Okay. So you're making a motion to deny the request for their 28-foot wide asphalt streets with concrete curbs and gutter and require they build it according to our specifications in our rules of 34-foot wide concrete streets. Is that the motion?
Yes, sir.
That's second.
Okay. Any other discussion? Daniel, we okay?
That's the only one that we're doing in reference to any other.
Correct, right now, that's all we're taking.
Am I correct? I want to make that specified.
Yeah.
I am not sure I understand what you're saying.
We're only voting on this one variance because there's
Yes.
2 items.
That's correct.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And you wanted to pull 2, is that what you said? You don't want to talk about the spacing at this meeting?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, moving on, Commissioners, new business, consent calendar. You have it in front of you. I entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item B, action items, approval of accounts payable.
I make a motion, we pay the bills.
Second.
Got a motion second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Approval of line item transfers.
Make a motion to approve line item transfers?
Second.
Got a motion second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Approval of budget amendments.
Make a motion to approve budget amendments?
Second.
Got a motion second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Approval of payroll and personnel.
Make a motion to approve payroll and personnel.
Second.
Got a motion second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item number 1, a proclamation proclaiming August 6th through 12th as National Health Center Week in Hunt County from CareBide. Michelle, y'all want to come forward and have any comments, or you want us to read the proclamation, or would y'all like to read it? Okay. I'll let Philip read it.
Thank you. This is CareBide in reference to proclamation, whereas for over
Hang on,
50.
Philip, hang on, let them say something
I
first.
apologize.
I was making a joke, I'll read it, Philip.
Okay.
No, go ahead, we want you to.
Well, we just want to thank you for doing this. Thank you for the opportunity to be in Hunt County, providing healthcare services to our community. We'll celebrate our 46th year this year, serving Greenville and Hunt County with healthcare services for those that have challenges accessing services in other places. So just to give you in reference to kind of context to how many people we see in the county, we saw 31,000 people system-wide, and we're in 6 counties, but about 17 of those were in Hunt County. So we're doing a lot in the county, and we appreciate the support of the county and everything that you guys do for us as well. Thank you.
That's all right. Well, I personally,
I guess I can introduce you. We have Michael Glass, who's our deputy CEO and CFO, and this is Stan McKee, who's been a longtime board member on our board of directors.
good to have y'all. Well, from my position, I'd like to make let the public know how much y'all were aiding in the fight with COVID, and that y'all stepped up and you helped in every way you could, and we appreciate it, and y'all provided a lot of services for the community during that, and worked with us diligently trying to get a cooperation with our health clinic, and we couldn't ever get it to work out because of a grant, but it was great. We appreciate your efforts in trying to support the county and the health of our county very much.
Thanks for bringing us this table on that. I know you are just as glad as we are that
Yes.
slowing down.
I don't want to ever go through that again in 3 lifetimes. I don't want to go through. Okay, National Health Center Week 2023 proclamation. Community health centers, a roadmap to a stronger America. Whereas for 50 years, community health centers have provided high-quality, affordable, comprehensive primary and preventative health care for our nation's medically underserved communities, serving over 30 million Americans in over 14,000 communities across the nation. Whereas every day, community health centers develop new approaches to integrating a wide range of services beyond primary care, including oral health, vision, behavioral health, and pharmacy services to meet the needs and challenges of their communities. Whereas community health centers are locally owned and operated small businesses that help power local economies by generating $85 billion in economic activity. Whereas the community health center model continues to prove an effective means of overcoming barriers to healthcare access, including geography, income, and insurance status, improving health outcomes, and reducing healthcare systems costs. Whereas during National Health Center Week, we celebrate the legacy of America's community health centers and their vital role in shaping the past, present, and future of America's healthcare system. Now, therefore, we, the Commissioners Court of Hunt County, Texas, do hereby proclaim August 6th through 12th, 2023 as National Health Center Week. I encourage all Americans to take part in this week by visiting their local health center and celebrating the important partnership between America's community health centers and the communities they serve.
Promise we shortened it. That's just possible.
That's fine. I love to read. Yeah. You bet. Let's get this approved first, and we'll do it.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
I entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Let's go down and take a picture, guys.
Thank you. All right.
We get too wide, we need to get double up. Yeah. Let's hope we can get him out. I don't know what to do. You're doing a good job.
I broke government property.
I'm watching them.
Well, what 2 lawyers do?
1, 2, 3, cheese. One more.
This is me taking notes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can get you a copy.
Thank you so much.
Thank y'all.
Appreciate it, John. Appreciate what you all do.
All right, action item number 2, a proclamation to recognize July 28th, 2023 as a day of remembrance for Ted Smith. Roz, it's good to see you.
Thank you very much. I want to thank you for being able to recognize the death of Ted Smith. It's actually a murder. It occurred on the courthouse, in front of the courthouse in 1908, 115 years ago. And we are going to have church, actually, this Friday. And we're going to have a memorial to him, inviting everyone who's here. Please come. We've already collected the soil, and we have a recognition there. So we will be in the 196th District Courtroom, Judge Andy Bench's third floor. Has about 200 seating, so please help us fill that, make it overflow, and let's remember this atrocity.
This Friday at what time?
This Friday at 11:30.
11:30, okay. Everybody tried to attend that. All right, you want to read? I always give everybody, okay. Proclamation, we, the Hunt County Commissioners Court, do hereby remember Ted Smith. Whereas on Tuesday, July 28, 1908, over 1,000 Hunt County residents gathered in the Greenville Town Square to witness the lynching of an 18-year-old African-American, Ted Smith. And whereas Mr. Smith was robbed of his due process, a mob kidnapped him from law enforcement and custody and burned him alive in a public spectacle lynching. And whereas on July 21st, 2023, a soul collection was gathered commemorating the burning of Ted Smith. And whereas on July 28th, 2023, a memorial ceremony will be held in Judge Andy Bench's 196th District Courtroom to remember Ted Smith. And whereas a coalition of the corporations of culturally diversified for Greenville, Texas, Inc., Greenville Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance, did y'all get some shorter words? And the Greenville chapter 6181-B of the NAACP will sponsor the ceremony. Whereas a collection of soil gathered will be sent for display to the Equal Justice Initiative National Memorial for Peace and Justice in Montgomery, Alabama. And whereas the Equal Justice Initiative has documented 338 African Americans who succumbed to racial terror in Texas during this time. And now, therefore, on behalf of the Hunt County Commissioner Court, we hereby recognize July 28th, 2023 as a day of remembrance for Ted Smith. Thank you, Ross. Thank y'all for the work you're doing and bringing this to our attention.
And we would like to have one of the commissioners or yourself to read the proclamation on Friday. I've already drafted Commissioner Hutchinson.
Okay, that's good. I was going to say, I'm not sure I'm here Friday, but I was going to have to punt. All right, Commissioners, let's all try to be there if we can, if we're available. And Roz, I appreciate it. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Ross.
My lady, I won't be there Friday because I had other things I had to be at. I apologize. Okay.
Yes, we'll get it signed here, and we'll get it to you. Thank you. Action item number 3, quarterly report for Audie Murphy Cotton Museum. Susan, yeah, there, Susan.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you for letting me present our quarterly report to you this morning. Over the past quarter, visitors to the museum came from 39 different states. And internationally, they came from Scotland, Germany, Wales, Canada, South Africa, Japan, Brazil, Colombia, and England. And there was a total of 1,529 paid visitors to the museum, and a total of 1,761 people actually signed our guest book. Our visitors spent 97 nights in local hotels, which included the Hampton Inn, Comfort Suites, Holiday Inn, Best Western, Quality Inn, and Super Inn. Some of our group tours came from the Webb History Club, the Bowie first grade, Dodd Elementary second grade, the PTAA third grade out of Greenville, the Herndon Elementary fourth grade, Lone Oak Elementary fourth grade, the Chamber Leadership Group, Sulphur Springs Elementary fourth grade, and the Travis Elementary fourth grade. So we had a quite a few out over the past few months. Some of our lunch break special speakers this quarter included in April, Don Parker, who spoke about cycling on the Transamerica Bicycle Trail. I can't even imagine being on a bike that long, but it was really interesting to learn about. In May, Larry Welch talked about his slot car collection, and in June, Ron Robinson gave a presentation on Roosevelt and Churchill during World War II. In May, we held our first motorcycle poker run and had a great turnout with 72 people participating. Friday Day, we had a great program and turnout as well. On the Friday, we showed the movie Red Badge of Courage at the Texan Theater. And then on Saturday, Dr. David Smith spoke about military heroism and American culture. Shane Netherton talked about the Honor Ridge Project. And Melissa Marks gave a presentation on Audie's plane crash. We also had an oral interview video that was conducted with fellow soldier and one of Audie's childhood friends, Bill Caldwell. And we had a really fascinating Q&A Zoom session with David Morrell. If you don't know who that is, he wrote First Blood, Rambo.
Okay.
So that was really cool. He kind of created his character a little, he pulled some parts of Audie to help create Rambo. So that was kind of interesting. The museum also hosted the Amateur Radio Field Day, and we did a program on the Jefferson Highway podcast. We've also been working with the Medal of Honor Museum that's being built in Arlington, and we'll be actually loaning some artifacts to them for one of their exhibits, which is going to be on Audie. So we're really looking forward to that. For our movie nights, we also had a temporary exhibit this quarter that was of the Black Art collection. So that'll be coming down this week. And our movie nights, we showed Mexican Hayride starring Abbott and Costello, and The Case of the Howling Dog starring Warren Beatty. I want to thank you guys so much for your support, and if you all have any questions, I'll be glad.
Susan, quick question. I apologize if you've told us this and I just forget, but at some point y'all were putting together a walk through history outdoor exhibit. Has that been completed?
Not yet. We're still working on that. Waiting to hear back on a couple more grants. We are hoping, the plan is hopefully sometime next summer it'll go in.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to thank y'all for the information that we get through the mail all the time. It's very interesting and enjoy reading it. Welcome.
You want to get a picture? Well, let's get Roz. Oh, yeah, we can get a picture of Roz on this one. We don't need one on this one. Sorry. We're trying to get that signed. All right, any questions, Commissioners? Entertain a motion for approval of the report.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion, and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Roz, you want a picture? We got two good lawyers to move it.
Oh, he went the easy way.
Fast learner.
I'm good. Y'all go.
All right, action on item 5, Hunt County Delinquent Tax Collections update by Purdue, Brandon, Fielder, Collins, and Mott. I did? Oh, I sure did, sorry. Patrick, you'll have to wait a second. Sorry. 4, the quarterly report of Hunt County Fire Association.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank y'all. What y'all have in front of y'all is a summary page of the call runs. I emailed y'all the entire audit to try to save some trees. I think it was like 100 pages of all the reports, so I emailed that to y'all. I should have had that this morning, sirs. On par basically with our calls. Not a lot notable in the last quarter as far as major incidences too far as our flooding and things of that nature that we reported on last time. We are gearing up for what we expect to be an active wildfire season actually coming this fall. The amount of rain and everything's been fantastic. It's pulled off our wildfires that we typically see early in July and June. But with that has become a great vegetation growth, which we now know is fuel. And with the predictions of lesser rain and going into the fall months and the death of that fuel and those vegetations, we expect a higher call count with wildland fires. So we're gearing up ready for that. Additionally, I wanted to speak today that I sat and listened to Mr. Toole talk about planning and zoning and code enforcement that the Commissioners Court and his group are trying to enforce and how that pertains especially to us in public safety. And I wanted y'all to know our appreciation and the public to know what that means to us. We're driving down these roads with these 100-inch wide fire trucks carrying massive amounts of equipment, anywhere from 750 gallons to 3,000 gallons of water. I understand sometimes the public can be frustrated with these codes and planning and zoning, but from a public safety standpoint, they're highly necessity. These trucks need the room to operate, get to your home, the firemen to get out, open those doors, pull those hoses, and get to work without being obscured, especially when seconds count. So we greatly appreciate the work that the Commissioners Court and the Planning and Zoning committees and things are doing on that and bettering our county for public safety. And we as an association highly support their actions with that, and especially when it comes to the form of our being able to operate and our future growth of this county, which is expanding at a record rate. So we greatly appreciate that.
Well, for clarity, that only covers 5,000 feet within from the take line.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Of Lake Tawakoni, so the public doesn't think we have it all across
No,
the
yeah,
county.
yes,
It's
sorry.
just, we have zoning authority within 5,000 feet of the take line of Lake Tawakoni.
And then y'all subdivision standards and
Our
things.
subdivision standards, and we need to make a bigger push. We made it an effort this year with the legislature and gave our legislators the challenge that we wanted to get zoning for Hunt County. When we didn't get anywhere with it, but we're going to go back again next time. And I know Rockwall's trying to do it too, and so we got to get a better game plan and try to go back. But we desperately need some kind of zoning authority.
Yes, sir. We appreciate the work y'all do to hold that standard and try to make it to where we can publicly operate in the safety of that public that's going to live in those neighborhoods. Because I don't think people realize that's going to happen, and it will happen. It's not a matter of if. It's going to happen on that street at some point. And that fire truck's going to be down there, and it's going to need the men and women, and that truck's going to need a room to operate. So, though it can be frustrating, and I watch y'all's Commissioners Courts all the time, and I see it constantly, them challenging y'all. But we appreciate the standard y'all hold and the work y'all do, because it does make our job that much easier, and we appreciate that.
Daniel, is it all right if he comments on that, the streets and widths and the spacing of that prior agenda item? You got any comments about the group that was asking for this 420
I would say what they need to remember is a fire engine is going to be 100 inches wide. If you're going to be parking cars on the street, that's fine. If you think it can drive down that street, it's just fine. Those doors need to be open. So you got to think that fire engine's 100 inches wide driving. We got to swing those doors open. We got to be able to have room to operate. The men are sitting on the side of a pump panel, pulling hose off that fire truck. And not only is that public needs to keep in mind we need to access that house, but unless you want your car tore up, you want to give us room to operate, because we'll throw the hoses over that car to save that house, and it's going to be a lot more damage. And our goal is not to cause more damage than the fire already does. So they need to keep that in mind. I will say they need to be a lot more attentive. Street parking is already a massive issue. We ran into it a couple of nights on 4th of July on some neighborhoods that were having large parties in Precinct 2's area, and they were parking a lot on the streets. And we had trouble getting brush units down to some brush fires due to fireworks. And there was no way a large truck was going to happen to that. So I think they need to keep in mind, those variances are not, though they save them money, they're not in the best form for public safety.
Of course, they're asking also, which we didn't discuss at this meeting, but at the last, but it was on the agenda, 20-foot space in between manufactured homes.
That is a very...
It's awful dangerous.
It is very dangerous. We have priorities in the fire service. We call it RECIO VS. Rescue exposure are the two of the RECIO VS, ventilation and search. But rescue is our number one, and exposure is our number two. And the thing is exposure being the home next door. And if we have homes right on top of each other, especially that a manufactured home of type A construction that can readily catch fire and move rapidly, doubling in size every 60 seconds, we're having to not only try to put out that home, but we're now worrying about catching it as it moves into what we consider a conflagration of multiple homes. And that is
A windy
very-
day, that'd be awful.
Yes, sir, extremely awful. And then they take a wildfire. If they're going to be out there burning their trash, what regulations are that? And being in between two homes to do that, then you're worried about fast-moving wildfires. And put us in a very bad position to where we're not saying that we're going to have to cut our losses to save here. We want to save every home possible, and that is a very concerning and scary event. And those RV parks, that's the same thing. We're seeing the uptick. We're having to retrain instructional firefighting on how to make entry and fight fire inside RVs. It's the new trend. I'm sure y'all fully know that, but it's changing the way we operate, and that minimal spacing becomes an issue on fully involved in fast-moving fires, especially mobile homes and type A.
I'd like to bring up this in reference to the other commissioners. Ryan and I have worked together for I don't know how many years, 16 or more, in reference to trying to put some of these graders in different areas throughout. Basically, we have one in the north part of Precinct 3, and in the southern also, we normally put one over by Cache area. That way we can assist them in fighting these brush fires like are taking place west of Fort Worth at this time.
Moving this way.
But anyway, we had a discussion in reference to bringing these graders out because it's getting ready to be that time of the year. So I would like for the other commissioners to think about that also.
And if the other commissioners wish to do that with Precinct 4, Mr. Harrison, Wolf City would be your best point of contact to mitigate that on your side. Mr. Monroe, Caddo Mills, and Mr. Hutchins, Mary and Celeste, those would be your points of contact if you wish to do so with them. Those graders, Commissioner Martin is correct. There's a lot of times the Texas Forest Service rely on them to cut lines in these wildfires with bulldozers, and there's times Commissioner Martin has had his crews come out and cut those lines because they were able to respond faster and quicker to get those lines cut for us in those fields and get ahead of those wildfires, because sometimes the Forest Service may not even be available. They're a regional asset. We may see them over in East Texas, and we didn't have them one day. So thank y'all, and thank you for your support on that, Mr. Martin.
Thank y'all for all y'all do.
Thank you so much, Judge. We appreciate it.
All right, entertain a motion for, Richard, y'all have any comments? I'm sorry, nope, you're all good?
We're all good.
All right.
I said, thank Ryan for his good presentation, and you sent us everything. Appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
All right, entertain a motion for approval of action item number 4.
So moved.
Got a motion, second, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Now then, action item number 5, the Hunt County Delinquent Tax Collections Update by Purdue, Brandon, Fielder, Collins, and Mott.
Good morning, Judge Stovall, Commissioners. Good to be with you all this morning. My name is Patrick MacArthur. I'm an attorney with the Purdue Brandon Law Firm, and with me today is senior partner with the firm, Doug Burnside. So I want to provide you guys another update on the delinquent tax collections. I have 3 kind of things I want to cover today. Number 1, I want to provide an update on the 2021 collections. Number 2, review the data, the turnover for the new tax year that's being turned over to our firm for collections the 2022 year. And then the third thing is I'm just going to do a quick recap on our July tax sale. So with that, if you want to turn to page 2 in your packet, here I'm providing some data around the 2021 collections through the end of June. Our firm has made almost 6,000 phone contacts, over 8,000 letters mailed. We've made updates over almost 2,000 address updates, looking for better addresses for folks that have return mail and locating those accounts. One thing I want to highlight here is the field inspections. In April of this year, we had the 2022 accounts for the personal property accounts turned over to our firm. We call that early turnover. So we start working on collections of those in April, and most of those accounts are business personal accounts. And so the field inspections are, my approach to these is, we try to contact these folks, these business owners, and my approach is to go speak with these folks one-on-one. Speak with the business manager, the owner of the business, and just try to get an understanding of what's going on with the delinquent account. And, I did a number of those in April and May. And, they're very fruitful conversations. A lot of these accounts, sometimes it's a cash flow issue, and we try to work out some sort of payment plan. Another account, in other cases, they're not getting the mail. And it was interesting, I had a bank where, essentially it's the responsibility of the account owners to update the addresses with the CAD. And, I sat down and spoke with the branch manager, and she's like, oh, our address is to the IT department in Pennsylvania, and she's like, well, we'll get this taken care of right away. So, that's the kind of approach I like to take on those, and, we do what we need to do. But anyway, there was up on field inspections because of those, that early turnover. And then we had the rest of the stats here, coverage of your bankruptcy filings, lawsuits filed, and the pay agreements. So if you turn to the next page, the overall, as it stands through the end of June, the overall amount collected for your 2021 taxes is a little over 98%. And that is, your standard tax collections plus the delinquent tax collections that we've worked on. So overall, you're at 98.44% on the collections of your 2021 taxes. Now, the delinquent taxes are on the next page. The total amount that was turned over to us in July of last year was a little over $1.3 million, and we've collected 57.62%, almost 58% of those delinquent accounts. And so, we'll continue to work on those, but that number, as it relates to prior years, I calculated the average collection amount for your prior year turnover years for the past 4 years, and the average is 55%. So in our first year, we're above what your average collection is for prior turnover years.
What percentage of that non-collected was deferred?
I've got a chart just for you, Commissioner Martin, coming up. So I will address that in a later chart.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. The next page, this is just a quick overview of what has been turned over to us for the 2022 taxes. So the turnover for the bulk of those, the real property accounts, were turned over to our firm July 1st, and we're beginning to work on the collections. The letters have gone out, and we're starting to make calls and collect on those 2022 delinquent accounts. And so that is, the total amount is a little over $1.5 million, and that's accounts for about 4% of the overall levy. And so we will, again, we will start working on those, and that work has already gone underway. So the next chart, this shows the delinquent tax account breakdown through the 2022 tax year, so the accounts that we just received here in July. Commissioner Martin, you'll see there it's about 29% that are currently in deferral. We have a number of accounts that are in litigation. The prior year accounts that are in litigation is 15%. And then, the pre-litigation, meaning we're doing our research, making calls, contacting folks on 42% of the accounts. And the bulk of that is the stuff we just got here in July. So, again, if you look at the account breakdown by the dollar range, 89% of the accounts are less than $1,000, which is, almost the cost of a lawsuit. So we really try to contact these folks through our call campaigns and things like that, and try to get those amounts collected. The next page is honestly a tracker I created for Commissioner Martin on the deferral. It's last time I provided an update showing how the deferral numbers have been tracking quarter by quarter. And as we kind of predicted last time, with the new turnover amounts in July, which have new accounts to us, there was an increase in the number of deferral accounts. And that's because you have new accounts that are coming in that, applied for their deferrals last year. And so those are new accounts coming in. And again, a deferral, it just allows the deferral of the payment of the taxes if it's a homestead and they're over 65, disabled vet, or qualify as a disability under the tax code. And so the next page is the last time I don't want to kind of go over is our July tax sale. As you recall, last time we met, you guys passed a resolution authorizing me to go back to the tax sale for certain struck off, or all the struck off properties that are struck off and held in trust by Hunt County. And so in July, we had our first sale where we took those properties back to the tax sale. And under that method, we're able to start the minimum bid at something lesser than what it went for in the first tax sale. And so, again, the goal is to get those properties out of the county and back on the tax roll. And I'm here to say we sold 100% of all the struck-off properties that we put on that sale. It was 10 properties. So we're going to stage these and try to make these sales geographically focused. And it was a great sale. We sold all of the struck-off properties. We contacted neighbors to those properties and let them know about the sale. We combined certain lots. This was all in the Hot Cove area. So where we had, two properties adjacent to each other that may have been sold previously as separate individual lots, we sold those as combined lots. And that worked really well. And so we got those sold. We actually collected about 84% of what the taxes were due. But, the goal was to get all of those back on the roll, and we did that. So, good. And so we will do that again in August. We'll have another tax sale where we have the struck-off properties. We have, I think it's around 12 properties, and they're in the Commerce, Greenville, kind of Lone Oak area, and we're trying to find properties that, kind of are close by and things like that. So all our tax sale information is on our website, pbfcm.com, and we'll publish that in the newspaper. And, I think this will be a great way to get those back on the roll. And, it'll take some time, but over time, we'll just continue to do these methodically and get those on the roll. So with that, I will open it up to any questions you may have.
Commissioners, any questions? Thank you, Patrick. Thank you for the hard work.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
Entertain a motion for approval of the report.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank y'all. Action item number 6, the annual financial report, year end September 30th, 2022. Robert Lake.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Robert.
Appreciate the opportunity to be here today, and I'll try to go through this thing fairly quickly. And,
Yeah.
The report is basically the same thing you get every year. Numbers change, of course, from year to year and whatnot, but there are a couple of things in here that are different. Just make you aware of. They're not any kind of major change or whatnot, but they are something to kind of have in the back of your mind. And so, if we'll turn over and start on page 6, this is the independent auditor's report, where we render our opinion as to whether or not the financial information presents a fair picture of the county's finances as of and for the year ended. If we call an unmodified report, it's the best report you can receive. This is one of the things that's changed. You take this report and compare it to last year's report, you'll note pretty quickly that it's not the same length, and it's got some wording that's different. It doesn't really mean a whole lot in the grand scheme of things, but I think through years we've always been accused of hiding our opinion somewhere about 3/4 of the way through a 3-page letter. And so what you'll see here now is it's in the first 2 paragraphs on the very first page. So in theory, makes it a little easier to get to the meat of the matter. But with that said, once again, unmodified opinion, best opinion you can receive. And then we follow that up with 2 additional reports on compliance and internal control. I'm just going to say that they're very, bland. There's no changes. They're the best reports you can receive in regards to compliance and internal control. If you look on page 13, this is kind of it's what's titled the summary of the auditor's results. This deals with the compliance and internal control issues, specifically regard to government auditing standards and your major federal programs. You can see there that about 3/4 of the way down the page there, the major program that we identified under the Federal Single Audit Act or Uniform Guidance was the American Rescue Plan. So that's the program that we had to go through and look at the internal controls, look at all the compliance issues, whether or not you were complying with those things as they should. So, and as you can see on the next few pages, they all say none, so there were no issues with regard to compliance and internal control. Now, from there, you get into what's called management's discussion and analysis, and I'm not even going to talk about anything except page 23. I'll leave that to y'all to read and whatnot, but this is just a pie chart that kind of gives you a comparison or an idea of where does your money come from and where does it go out. And you can see here pretty quickly that property taxes are some 63% of your total revenues that you receive. Sales tax and other taxes, another 18%. You can see the other categories there as well. And then if you look down under the bottom, here's your expenses. And what you'll see here is that judicial is 23%, general government 17%, infrastructure is 21%. So you can kind of get an idea as to how the money flows out of the county and for what purpose it's out there for. Now we get into the actual numbers themselves. If we'll turn over to page 31, I'm kind of skipping through, so trying not to take up your time too much, but page 31 is the balance sheet for the governmental funds. The financial statement has 2 sets of financial statements in it, the government-wide, which is kind of on the accrual basis of accounting, just like corporate America is, and then the fund financial statements or the governmental funds. This is kind of how you see your stuff on a month-to-month basis and whatnot. So what you'll see here on Exhibit A3, the balance sheet, these are the governmental funds. I've kind of skipped the government-wide because this is kind of the way you look at the things that are happening. But what you'll see here, the balance sheets, your assets, liabilities, and resulting equity. You see cash and investments there. The general fund has some $35 million as of the end of September 30th of 22. So I know I'm late in getting this to you. We're some 10 months down the road here. But you can see there the American Rescue Plan still at this point in time had almost $16 million still left in its fund. And then the other governmental funds, another, that's 18, 16 million. My eyes are getting old, but what you'll see there, grand total across all funds, a little under $68 million as of the end of last September. And then you can go down that thing, you can look at the other assets, the property taxes receivable, the sales tax receivables, those things that we recognize somewhat in the current year that we're going to collect after the end of the fiscal year is basically what a receivable is. So our total assets across all funds there are a little over $76 million. Look at our liabilities. Liabilities consist of things like accounts payable, those current bills that we got the services basically in September and we pay the bill in October. Wages and payable, we don't pay on Friday because we work this Friday. There's a delay there, so there's always going to be a liability for wages and benefits and whatnot. And then the due to others, that's just a combination of things like we owe money to the state and some other things that we don't classify specifically as accounts payable. But all of those added together there, 5.6 million in the general fund, and 22 million across all funds. And then what's left basically is the fund equity at the bottom. If you took all of your assets and converted them to cash and used it cash to pay off your liabilities, this is what you'd have left over. And so, with the exception of some things, that's the money that's available for y'all to spend going forward. So in the general fund there, you can see a little over $31 million is available for future use. And then you get over into the other governmental funds. Those funds are basically things that are set aside for specific purposes or for some sort of easy way to describe is they're committed for a particular purpose. It doesn't mean that they're not available to spend, but they're just available to spend for those purposes. So a grand total, a little over $50 million across all funds. Now, if you skip over 2 pages, page 33, you'll get to the revenues and expenditures. Those same governmental funds. You can see there that we generated some $27 million in property tax revenue for the general fund, and across all funds, a little over $36 million. And then broken down there, you can see a grand total of $40 million, almost $41 million in general fund revenue, and 58 across all funds. The expenditures are broken down into these kind of generic categories. What does the county government provide for its residents? And you can say general government, judicial, public safety, infrastructure, and you can see those categories there. But the general fund generated some $36 million in expenditures, and across all funds, a little over $56 million. So you go down a few lines there, you have some other financing sources and uses. That's where we move money between funds. We get some debt proceeds, lease proceeds, whatnot. We actually sold some capital assets during the year, but a combination of all those, if you look at that third line from the bottom, if you want to call it profit or loss for the year, this is the net increase or decrease in your fund equity. So you'll see there the general fund a little over $4.8 million, 47,000 that's sitting in the American Rescue Plan. Basically, that's the interest that the American Rescue Plan earned over the period of time that it was invested for the year. And according to the grant, those funds will have to be spent in the same manner as the grant funds itself. So it just gives you a little more money in that bucket to spend in that way. And then the other governmental funds, a little over 18, almost $19 million. So a grand total, that same little over $50 million across all funds. Now there's a bunch of other stuff in here. One of the new things that I want to point out begins on page 35. Y'all created a internal service fund, I believe, going in. It actually started, I guess, really on October 1st, but some of the things that you had to do to get it set up and going forward happened in September, and so these three schedules here will be showing up in all of your future reports to account for that fund as we go forward. There's nothing really of any magnitude there. I just want to point those out to you. And then on 38 and 39, these are the custodial funds. Y'all collect a lot of money for other people and whatnot, particularly the tax office collects a tremendous amount of money for the other taxing entities across the state. But you can see there that on page 38, there's some $5.5 million in cash and balances across all these funds. A lot of those are the district clerk's trust funds and county clerk trust funds and all of these kind of things all kind of get lumped in here together because they're all funds that are for other people. They're not your quote-unquote money.
They're restricted.
Exactly. You can't even touch them.
We can't touch the interest either, can we?
No, you cannot. You cannot. And then the next page is something that's new. It began last year, but this year it kind of gets there. You can see that the tax office, particularly if you look there, tax collections, the tax office collected a little over $166 million this past fiscal year that ran through their accounts. So just gives you kind of an idea of how much money flows through the county from time to time in things that are not quote-unquote, your funds to account for. But with that, you get into the notes, the financial statements, which would just provide the reader with additional information. At the bottom of page, I went by it just too quick there, 44, this is kind of a schedule that, because the financial statements combine and lump a lot of things together, you can kind of see here what the funds over it, particularly in those other governmental funds, are set aside for. You can see there that some funds are restricted for debt retirement. That's the money that's in your debt service fund. You've also got funds that are restricted for capital projects. Those are the bonds that y'all have issued on the infrastructure around the county and whatnot. And then there's also capital improvements there at the bottom. That's the money that y'all committed, moved over out of the general fund to provide for capital improvements around the county. I think you did that last year, maybe the year before. Anyway, that's where that balance is sitting there. And then you'll see all the other things that are there as well. The road and bridge funds, for example, you can see there under public roads, $2.3 million was sitting in effectively for those road and bridge funds as of the end of the year. So it gives you kind of an idea there in the financial statements what kind of balances you have.
The bonds those were voter approved transportation bonds.
Right.
They're not bonds that we created, just so the public knows. Those were voted on by the public for transportation.
You're using those to help with the
Get project shovel ready so we can get more highways improved and get transportation better.
That's right.
The voters approved $24 million in transportation bonds in 15, I believe it was, 15 or 16. And
there's a note back in here that talks about it was done in 16.
16. And then since then, of the 24, we've issued 12 million.
12 million.
And so we still have another 12 to spend out of it that we waiting to get some of these other projects finished before we go any further.
After my trip on the weekend, I think we need to spend about all of it right now, but that's beside the point. Anyway, the rest of the report is just additional information that supports some of the numbers that are there. I know last year, y'all, one of the new things that we have is accounting standard, GASB statement number 87 that deals with leases. Under the old lease standard, you had what were called operating leases and you had capital leases. Well, now there are no such things as those any longer. Anything that was a capital lease is now considered a direct borrowing. It's just like loaning money. Because that's exactly what it was. It was a financing arrangement. It transferred ownership at the end of the lease. The other leases are what are called right to use or right of use lease assets. And those assets, basically like your vehicles that y'all are leasing through Enterprise, the intention is not to own those at the end of it, is to turn them back in, replace them with another vehicle. So basically, you've got a right to use that vehicle over the term of the lease.
That's not exactly right.
Well,
we still owe the debt. It is a financing tool.
Right.
But the goal is, in 4 years, we'll probably sell those to keep newer vehicles so we don't end up again with 18, 19-year-old vehicles all over the county.
Okay.
So the plan is to start getting newer vehicles for our employees to have a safer vehicle and hopefully better gas mileage and less maintenance on them. So, but we can't just turn them back in. If at the end of 4 years, we can continue a lease that pays off what the debt is on that actually.
Right. Well, the way you account for them, that's what we have to do. Right. So
I don't want the public to think that's what's going on. So.
Well, the interesting thing is that the biggest impact that you have is when you come around to doing budgets for all this stuff, because now the way you have to budget is you recognize that as if you're buying that vehicle up front. So that full, let's just say $35,000 or whatever, is going to hit your budget in the year that you enact that lease. And then all the payments from that point on are considered debt payments. And so, a little bit different accounting. It's not dollars-wise, it's not changing anything. It just kind of affects your budget going forward and how things are accounted for, but, okay. And then from there, I'm not even going to mention any of the rest of it. A lot of it, there's some stuff in here about pension plans and special schedules and whatnot on that. If anybody got a question, I'll be happy to go through anything else.
All I can say is I want to thank you for the service that you have been for the county, because keeping us straight on everything's been good, and you explain it to where it can be understood, and that's what I like.
Well, we hope. Sometimes it's not easy to explain.
And
In fact, this next year, you got another one coming up that I won't even try to explain because I don't understand it. And, but it deals with.
Well, that's good law then. That's the way they write them.
It deals with subscription-based, information technology arrangements. And that's just in itself, that's enough to choke a horse about it. But it will impact the county. So there will be some other changes going forward.
Thank you, Robert. Any other questions?
Not a question, Judge, but just for the public's benefit, these audits are made available on the county website for the public to
Correct.
see. So if anybody's suffering from insomnia, they can look them up there.
Oh, they're a great
I'd
read.
recommend it.
Yeah, a great read. About 10 minutes, you can go to sleep.
Okay, well, let me thank y'all for the opportunity to be here today. I'm usually making these board meetings at night, so this is really a nice difference, let me tell you. But as always, feel free to give us a call. I'll be more than happy to come back and explain anything. Of course, I want to thank, I think I've seen most of the commissioners around while we were working. We appreciate their help in answering questions and getting resolved those. And of course, the auditor's office and Stacy and her crew, I guess, down there, we appreciate their help as well. Brittany, she provides a lot as well, so we appreciate all the help that we get across the whole county.
Thank you for your acknowledgement there. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Entertain a motion for approval.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Action item number 7, water lab tested fees for public and outside entities. Richard, David, whoever wants to speak.
He's going to give it.
Judge, Commissioners, we brought this to the judge's attention last Wednesday, and he advised us to put it on the agenda. I would like to ask the Commissioners Court if we can postpone this till the next meeting because, and I'll explain that, Analab, who is currently doing all our work, is either merging or selling out to SPL. And we immediately started trying to get the information on all the new rates and everything. We're still waiting for that, Judge.
Okay, that'll be fine. Commissioners, so you know kind of what it is, that, we have this door where it says water labs, and we used to do years ago, decades ago, we did water testing for entities in the county, water supplies, home owners have water wells, whatever. We don't do that anymore. It all goes out, and what we've discovered recently is all we are is kind of a drop-off spot. Even Greenville and other entities bring them to us and drop them off, and then this lab picks them up and they go do all the tests. And it's really a financial situation, what we're charging or receiving and how all of it's working, and we just need to relook at all that and make sure that we still want to be doing business the way we're currently doing it. And Richard and I are trying to put together a plan or a proposal of what we should maybe do going forward. I mean, we're even having people from Mount Pleasant and all bringing them over Sulphur Springs, and we're just kind of a drop-off spot, so.
All over the contiguous counties, in other words.
Because we're the only one that has a health department, so we're the only ones that legally could ever do the testing before. And of course, now it's all gone out to professional labs to do it. So anyway, we just want to bring that to your attention. They'll keep working and give us a report when they get all of it wrapped up.
And what brought this to our attention, of course, as the Judge talked about, was the fact that the company that does the pickup, Analab, is in the process of selling, merging to a new company. And so we started getting all the emails and everything about,
And they're going up on their fees,
they're going up on their feet.
and we're not even charging enough to pay that, so we gotta relook at the whole program, and, yeah,
Hopefully, they'll have everything to me before I can present it to y'all in the next 2 weeks.
perfect. We'll put this on old business for next time.
Thank you.
All right. Action item number 8, jury pay increase per House Bill 3474 effective September 1st, 2023. Brittany.
Good morning, gentlemen. You'll see I just handed out ahead of the court this morning just an email trail that's labeled number 8, highlighted it at the top. At the back, you will see highlighted text of House Bill 3474, that the changes that they've made, the strike-throughs for juror pay on the first day and the second day thereafter. I'm just going to read the email that I wrote to our district judges, county judge, our clerks, and auditor's office. I wanted to bring this newly amended legislation regarding jury pay to everyone's attention. According to House Bill 3474, our jurors will be getting a pay raise starting September 1st, 2023. You will see in the highlighted text on the last page that I provided you that the first day of service can now be no less than $20. In response to this increase, the state will be reimbursing $14 of that $20 back to us for the first day, meaning the county will still only be out the $6. So currently, we pay $6 for our jurors on the first day. We do not currently get reimbursed for anything on the first day. So they have added that as a part of the legislation, that we will be getting $20, but they will reimburse $14. So we're still only out our $6 for the first day. For the second day of service and thereafter, it will be no less than $58 a day. Currently, the state is reimbursing $34 of the $50 that we pay. We pay $50 currently for second day and any day thereafter. Starting September 1st, they will be reimbursing $52 of the $58 that they are asking no less than. If I may suggest to the court, I would like to discuss the option of $60 a day for the second day of service and thereafter. I have approached the district judges about this. You will see on the very first page of the email that I provided that Judge Aiken, as the administrative judge, said that her and Judge Bench are in favor of increasing the jury pay as recommended by me, increasing it to $60 a day and for the second day and thereafter, so that I don't have to manage so many bills when having to pay cash to jurors. So if I'm having to do 2 20s, a 10, a 5, and 3 1s, it's tough we could have more human error in that handing out of that cash. So my suggestion to the court, where it says the law has now in the government code no less than 58, I would suggest $60 a day for the second day and thereafter. That would be a $10 increase in daily service to what they're currently being paid, and the state would be reimbursing $52 of the $60 that I have recommended. That's the first part of it. That's just the fee increases that the state has suggested. And in response to that, the pettit juror line item is currently budgeted $158,000. We've spent $90,000 to date. Last year, we spent a total of $110,000. Since we don't put the reimbursements back into the expense line item, I feel this line item may need to be increased to accommodate me asking for additional cash funds up front, because the reimbursements come back quarterly and are recorded as a revenue. I have previously spoken to the auditor's office in working with getting the proposed budget ready for this pettit juror line item to be increased from $158 to $250. That would account for me having to ask for the money up front to be able to pay everything. This is just an estimate of what I did on the average jurors that I pay on the first day, and how much we would pay at $20 came to $208,000. Then the additional funds that we would pay, an additional $42,000 that we would pay out to jurors that serve on the panels for the second day and thereafter. Also, the next in there in the email, I currently keep a petty cash drawer of up to $10,000. With this increase, I would like to discuss the option of making that up to $20,000, of which myself and my staff are bonded for an incredible amount more than that at $235,000. So keeping that cash on hand in our safe, we are bonded to be able to increase that amount. That way I don't have to ask for a check weekly from the auditor's office, because typically I would have to go in there in between court cycles and ask them for money. And since we would be paying, we have juries every Monday, I might have to continue to ask them if I keep my petty cash at $10,000. So that is the recommendation that I have for the court. Like I said, the legislature set the increases. What I would like the court to decide is if we would allow the $2 additional from 58 to 60 per day on the second day thereafter.
What, I think you said it, but how much does the state currently reimburses?
For the second day and thereafter, we get $34 a day. Currently,
Right.
of the $50 that we pay.
Okay.
So we get 34 of that back, and we get nothing for the first day, because we pay $6.
Well, actually, we'll be saving a little money.
Yes.
Yep.
We're going to be getting, because we're still out our $6, because they're going to be reimbursing 14 of the 20 on the first day, and then on the second day, they're reimbursing 52 of 60, where they currently only do 34 of 50. So yes, we would be saving a little bit.
Tell me this, the reimbursement that the state does, do we have to wait, or do they pretty much?
It's a quarterly reimbursement. They send me a report, and I file the amounts that we need, that we had for the previous quarter, and it comes in probably within a month of my filing of it, but we do get quarterly installments for the juror reimbursements.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, Brittany.
Okay, thank you.
Any discussion? I'll entertain a motion to approve Brittany's recommendation of increasing jury pay to the $20 for the first day and then $60 for every day thereafter.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item number 9, the county judge's office filing a claim with the Texas Comptroller of Public Accounts for unclaimed capital credits pursuant to local government code 381.004 of Texas Property Code. Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item number 10, discuss and take action on RFQ responses and award for jail and county office architectural engineering services. Commissioner, did you hand that out, those reports? Cheryl called in sick this morning. She was, of course, the purchasing agent is over the awarding of contracts, and Cheryl led a group of a committee made up of Brandon Beard, our IT, myself, Commissioner Harrison, Chris Kilmer, our facilities director, and Chad Stroud, our captain over the jail. He's head over our county jail. Yeah. So what we did is we advertised for selecting an architectural firm for not only to design a jail at some point, but also to facilitate office planning and repurposing of the Puddin Hill property and buildings. And we had, I believe there's 6 firms that submitted qualifications. Cheryl gave us a point system to grade off of 6 different items. And so in reviewing their data, each of us individually on our own, we scored how we felt these firms would be qualified for what we were asking them to do. 2 firms, the 2 top firms were GHC and then HDR Architectural Firm. You can see GHC scored at 474 out of a total of 500 point possible, and HDR 429. The committee met last week to get the results. We turned them in individually to Cheryl. Cheryl tabulated the results and then gave us the results at our meeting last the committee made the decision to recommend to the court that we select GHC as the architect firm moving forward. We did discuss whether or not to bring in the two and interview them and then make the selection, but everybody felt comfortable that the point difference was significant enough to not do that, and that there were some clear differentials with GHC. So any questions, we'd like to approve it today. If you don't, if you want to do something different, we can certainly do what the court wishes to do. But the committee's recommendation, and my recommendation being on that committee, is to negotiate with GHC to do some services for us. Any questions?
Where's GHC and HDR, where are they out of?
Oh, they both got multiple offices. They both have offices in Dallas. Brandon called on multiple. Brandon didn't come to you. He called many of them, and so did others. We all called some other references that they gave. GHC is currently building a jail, overseeing a building of a jail in Waco. Can't think of the county in Waco, but
Bell. It's Bell and McClendon.
Clinton, I think, McClendon Jail. And it's like, it'll be it's three times the size of what we're currently building or proposing to build. Their demand's higher. I think there's just going to be a 12 to 1,500 bed facility. We're looking at 400 to 500 bed facility if and when we get to that point. But they had said they had absolutely no issues, that they've been great to work with, and I think we all got that from other. Also, HDR had good comments as well. But GHC seemed to stand out to all of us in their, I guess, some of their project approach. I think they tied with HDR under the project approach. They both had, all of them really had fairly decent approaches to it, because it's, when you go to do a project, it's kind of the same steps you go through, so they all pretty much did the same.
Judge, was cost at all a factor?
No cost. This is professional services is only qualifications.
Okay.
Well, if and when we select somebody, then we will sit down with them and have a scope of services defined of what we're asking them to do, and at that point they'll give us a price. And if we choose that we think that's not good, we can always select another one and go ask for HDR or somebody else to give us a scope of service. Under the same scope of services, what would they charge us? They're both closely qualified. But we can't select a professional based on price.
If it's if the court were to ask them, would these top two candidates, would they be able to present at our next court meeting?
Oh, they'd be happy to present it. I don't know. We just have to check calendars to make sure they're available.
I think with the score difference of way it is, I say we just go ahead and approve for GHC.
Is that a motion?
I'll make it as a motion.
Got a motion? I'll second it. Any discussion there, Mark?
Well, I think I would, with respect, I think I'd like to hear a presentation from the two of them. I respect the work of the committee, and I'm glad it's narrowed down to two. And, but I think for us voting on this today, not having had any interaction or any interaction or research into these groups, I'd feel most comfortable having a presentation from the two.
Any other comments?
What did Chris think?
GHC. We all did. I mean, all the committee said they were very comfortable with GHC. And, I'll tell you, HDR, the big problem with HDR is they tout, well, again, for me, it was a lot of heartburn. They touted an individual on their team who would be one of their team leaders, and he used to work for the firm that did our our renovation here at this jail, where we refused to pay them a fee because they didn't do what we asked them to do. And then they came back and made another attempt, and they still didn't really do what we asked them to do. And that firm did not submit qualifications to us, but one of their top guys is now at HDR, and that gave me a lot of heartburn with him being on that team. So just so clarity, that's, if that makes any difference to you, that was the big difference for all of us. Any other questions? All right. All in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
4-1 with Commissioner Hutchin voting no. All right. Action item number 11, after a public hearing and discussion, consider approval of an interlocal agreement between Wolf City, Texas, a general law municipality in Hunt County for the purpose of rebuilding Hannah Street in Wolf City from the intersection of Hannah and Manson Street westbound approximately 720 feet to the intersection of Hannah and Austin Street. Work to be completed in 2 phases. Phase 1 consisting of reclaiming the current pavement and adding rock to create a road base. Phase 2 to include laying oil sand over the road base. Cost of materials, equipment, and labor to be borne by Wolf City, Texas, according to the terms of the agreement. Daniel?
All right, this is set for action if the Commissioners Court chooses to go that direction and for a public hearing. So after I talk about what this is, then there'll need to be a public hearing before any action takes place. It's also on executive session if you'd like to discuss it there first. Basically, this is an agreement where Hunt County's, Commissioner Harrison's portion of the road work crews will do a 1.136 mile rebuilding of a road near the school in Wolf City. That road's in real bad condition. And so what Wolf City is doing is agreeing to pay for all of that, including all the materials and then labor costs that are being put together by our county. They'll pay that into the county before any work starts, and then the county will refund anything that's left over after the estimate, or to the extent that more monies are owed, then they'll pay that to the county. This is similar to other interlocals that the county's done many times in the past. It's been a while since Wolf City had one.
I would like to bring this up in reference to it, in which I have no problem with this, but I do want to, and I mentioned it to you earlier, that the Texas Government Code in reference to phases as far as $15,000, but I'd like to reiterate exactly what you said. Basically, they're repaying him. They're paying for all the equipment and everything, so that would not come into this.
That's my understanding, that's correct.
Yes, sir.
As
Yes,
long
sir.
as they cover 100% of those costs and they're paid up front, which
Yes.
is how this is set up.
Yes, sir. And I wanted to say that way it'd be on record that basically this is, the 15,000 will be acknowledged that, that doesn't come into this. You agree?
Yes, that's my understanding. Yes.
All right, any other questions? Entertain a motion for approval?
You need to have a public hearing.
Oh, we do? Oh, at this time, I'll open the discussion of the public hearing for the interlocal agreement with Wolf City. Anybody here wish to speak? Anybody online? Come forward, state your name and address, please, ma'am.
I'm Betty Malone. I am on the council, City Council of Wolf City. We greatly appreciate any help and assistance you can give us. Mr. Harrison has been great to work with, and his foreman has really helped us in answering questions. And, we're one of the poorest towns, and any help they can do, we're grateful. If you go to Wolf City, our streets are in terrible shape. and there hasn't been any work done of any kind for 3 years, and that would have been before you were elected and stuff, so in Precinct 1, and then we've been switched to Steve, so.
Redistricting, we got.
In the redistricting, but I just have to say, Mr. Harrison and his staff has been great in answering all of my questions, and we greatly appreciate the opportunity to work with y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else or anyone online? I'll close the public hearing. Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action number 12, widening the road 6 feet for approximately 316 feet of County Road 4804 from a dirt to rock, then rock to oil sand precinct 4. Money is in escrow.
Make a motion to approve this, and this is in relation to agenda item 21 as well.
Okay.
Second.
Got a motion, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item 13, the replat of Lot 4 of AEM Development Addition in Precinct 2. Brian?
And this one will require a public hearing, but first, the original plat was approved in 2022. They have now acquired a little bit more property that they're gonna include in this big lot here, and it's creating another lot that fronts the county road. The frontage that they have will still be ample for what they're proposing, what they're creating.
All right, any questions? If not, I'll open it up to a public hearing. Anybody here wish to speak on the replat of Lot 4 of AEM Development Edition? Daniel? Nobody online. I'll close the public hearing. Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item 14, the final plat of Matthew and Brittany Gibson Edition in Precinct 1.
Pretty simple 2-lot plat. It fronts on an FM road, so there were no right-of-way improvements required. Ample frontage. Pretty easy.
All right, any questions, commissioners? Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item 15, the final plat of Nichols Edition, Lot 1 and 2, Block A in Precinct 1.
Another fairly simple 2-lot plat with highway frontage.
Any questions? Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item 16, the final plat for Stevens Estate in Precinct 3.
Easy plat. The road is up to standards already. Right of way is up to standards. There's just a little bit of right of way dedication that they had to dedicate because that road is up off of their property. So they didn't own all the way out to the center of the road as a lot of these lots do.
Okay. Any questions? Entertain a motion for approval.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item 17, the final plat for Nasser Edition in Precinct 3.
Right of ways up to standard. I've actually had this one for a little bit. It was had to get in and do quite a bit of clearing along the right of way, taking out some big trees and quite a bit of brush. Roads up to up to standard, right-of-ways up to standard.
Any questions? Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item number 18, the civil plans for Fanning Creek Meadows in Precinct 3.
These are civil plans with a letter from our engineering representative. He's reviewed them. They meet our requirements. This is so that they can get to constructing their new road.
What type, if I may ask, what type of road and reference are they going to put in there?
It was a, the cross-section is in the plans. It's typical county road section out of the back of the manual.
Oh, this is one down in Wheeling we've been dealing with for quite a while.
Yes, sir.
We've been dealing with this one for,
Got this adjacent land owner to give them some right-of-way for dedication.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, this was one that they, the neighbor to the north had a little corner of the proposed road to access the subdivision.
Well, it's just unclear whether it's a county road, old county road, never been abandoned, or what it was, what the status of it
That's
was.
right. The end of the
Pavement, end of county.
pavement end stopped prior to getting all the way into this property, and the neighbor to the north was not interested in signing anything or doing anything. We were concerned about possibly having issues with access, so they went to the neighbor on the south side of the road and got with him, and he agreed to it and let him go.
All right, any other questions?
Yes, what was it I say, I don't know whether it was asphalt or what. Okay.
I believe this was in
It's on page C5, Philip.
yeah, C5 is what across the, and this is a cross-section taken right out of our engineering standards.
Writing typing so small.
Yes, well,
hard to
and I've got the full-size prints, but it's hard to give out 24 by 36 full-size prints to all y'all. Chip seal pavement section per geotechnical report.
Yes. That's what we were talking about 2 years ago.
Right, right.
All right. Any other questions? Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Action item 19, the final plat for Fanning Creek Meadows in Precinct 3.
This will be the final plat of that. Of course, I would recommend a conditional approval, waiting on them to complete the construction of the road and all the infrastructure.
Any questions? Entertain a motion for approval of item 19 with stipulation that it's not to be recorded and final approved till it's all construction's completed.
I so move.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Action item number 20, final plat for Bustus Estates, being a replat for Lot 3 through 6 of Grove Hill Meadows Phase 1 in Precinct 4.
And this one will need a
Public hearing.
public hearing also. He's taking an old subdivision that was created a long time ago, and he is replatting some of the lots to make them a little bit more conducive to further development. They also own the property behind it, which originally would have somewhat been landlocked according to the old plat. It won't be landlocked now, but it'll be developed in the future. But right now, he's just wanting to do these 3 front lots that are going to be a little bit deeper than what they used to be.
All right. Commissioners, any questions? This time I'll open this action item number 20 to a public public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak on replat lots 3 through 6 of Grove Hill Meadows Phase 1, Block 4, come forward. Anybody online? No. Being none, I'll close the public hearing. Entertain a motion for approval.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Action item number 21, final plat of Bowles Estate Phase 3 Precinct 4, which you said ties back to your...
Number 12.
Number 12, or Steve did.
Yeah. Two-lot subdivision. He has already paid for the upgrade of the road surface and the widening of the road, so fairly simple two-lot plat. That'll have a nice wide road in front of it.
All right. Any questions? Entertain a motion for approval.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, guys.
Any other business before we go into executive session? All right. Commissioners, I entertain a motion to go into executive session under items 1 through 4.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. We're in executive session at 11:51. Somebody order pizza. Yeah. All right, it's 12:48. We're back in regular session under old business. Action item number 2, a variance request for creek bend development to allow 20-foot spacing. Entertain a motion to move this to the next regular session under new business.
I can either go under new business or remain under old business.
Okay, to be on old business at the next agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Is there anything else before the court?
No.
Did you check?
No comments.
No comments? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned at 12:48.